Part 25. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 241. At the same time as the Earth, Chen Mu has arrived in front of Jupiter. Looking at the huge Jupiter in front of him, he felt an inexplicable shock. The diameter of Jupiter is 11 times that of the Earth, and the volume of Jupiter is 1,321 times that of the Earth. Although Chen Mu has swallowed Mercury, Venus, and Mars, even so, his size is still far behind Jupiter. The mass of Jupiter is second only to the Sun in the solar system. If the Sun is the boss in the solar system, then Jupiter is the second. In the solar system, the mass of Jupiter is 2.5 times the mass of other planets combined. It takes 318 Earth masses to be comparable to Jupiter. This shows how large the mass of Jupiter is. Chen Mu cannot compare with Jupiter in mass, let alone in size. Jupiter is orange, yellow and white, and a huge spot can be seen on Jupiter. This spot is not actually a spot, it is an extremely huge storm cyclone, which has continued from more than 3,000 years ago to the present day and has not stopped. If this storm cyclone were placed on Earth, it would be a doomsday-like typhoon. And it is not the kind of typhoon that disappears all of a sudden, but will continue to wreak havoc for hundreds or thousands of years. Of course, if it were on Earth, this kind of storm cyclone would probably not survive for so long. The reason why the storm cyclone can last for so long is obviously mainly because Jupiter is a gas planet. Jupiter in front of Chen Mu is rotating. When Chen Mu puts his consciousness outside the Earth and looks at the Earth, he is not easy to feel the rotation of the Earth, because it takes a long time for the Earth to rotate once. But Jupiter is different. Staying in front of Jupiter, Chen Mu can clearly see that Jupiter is rotating, and the speed of rotation is very fast. Chen Mu can feel the clouds surging with the rotation of Jupiter, and the speed is very fast. Facing such a huge monster in front of him, Chen Mu felt a little shocked, and he also faced a problem at the moment. How can I devour this Jupiter in front of me? Chen Mu is currently the Earth, which is a planet. Although Chen Mu has devoured other terrestrial planets, his size and mass have increased, but it is a joke to compare with Jupiter. It is obviously impossible to devour this Jupiter in front of him by relying on his own size advantage, just like devouring terrestrial planets. So what should I do next? Chen Mu thought about it for a while. In fact, this question is not difficult. Before, when my size and mass were not as good as the Earth, I could also drill holes in the Earth, separate the Earth's materials, absorb them, and convert them into my own evolutionary energy. Since it was possible before, it is also possible now. I can run around the periphery of Jupiter as before, separate the materials outside Jupiter, and then devour them and turn them into my own material energy. But, would it be too slow to do that? Chen Mu doesn't like to waste time. Chen Mu thought about it for a while, and he had another idea. Since Jupiter is huge in size and mass, it is better to devour other planets first to increase its mass and size. After the other planets are devoured, it can deal with this guy. In this way, the speed can be faster. Okay, Chen Mu made up his mind directly. Give up Jupiter first, find trouble with other planets with smaller size and mass, and then find trouble with Jupiter. Thinking of this, Chen Mu controlled his huge body and rushed directly to Jupiter in front. Chen Mu's body has the ability to adapt instantly. No matter what happens, Jupiter can't hurt Chen Mu. Now Chen Mu needs to move forward to find other gas giants. How long will it take for Chen Mu to bypass this behemoth in front of him? Although the time required at Chen Mu's current speed of light is not long, it is still a waste of time. As a rigorous Chen Mu, he naturally would not choose to waste those few minutes. So, he chose to go straight through Jupiter's body and rush in. According to what Chen Mu heard and learned on Earth, Jupiter is a gas giant planet, that is, it is completely made of gas. Since it is made of gas, there will be no problem if you go through it directly, right? At the same time, inside the Earth, it is nighttime, but the sky is particularly bright at this moment. Jupiter can reflect sunlight, so people can see it very clearly. At this moment, as long as people look up, they can see the outline of Jupiter that almost covers the entire sky. Sword god Tang Jian and Wu Xian are in a valley. At this moment, Tang Jian and Wu Xian both look up and look at the terrifying picture in the sky. Tang Jian's pupils are trembling. Sword god Tang Jian, the invincible sword god Tang Jian. Yesterday, Tang Jian felt that he was invincible in the world, and the only ones who could make him uneasy were the gods and angels in the heavens. But today, he died once, resurrected once, and witnessed all kinds of terrifying phenomena in the world. And the scene in front of him made him feel unprecedented fear. This undoubtedly dealt a heavy blow to Tang Jian's self-esteem, and made him understand that there is always someone better than you. It's coming down, Wu Xian suddenly shouted. Tang Jian looked closely and found that the image of Jupiter in front of him was rapidly expanding at a speed visible to the naked eye. The entire sky was full of orange, yellow and white tones. It felt like the entire sky was pressing down directly. All the humans on the entire Earth looked at the sky that was rapidly expanding in front of them. Everyone had only despair and fear in their hearts. The sky is falling. Suddenly someone shouted. The sky is falling. This scene can be described in 3 words without exaggeration. The orange, yellow and white sky pressed down directly, and the desperate fear spread throughout the Earth. The orange, yellow and white sky fell suddenly. However, at this moment, the entire Earth was suddenly wrapped in golden light. All life on the entire Earth was swallowed by the golden light. From the outside, it can be seen that Chen Mu, as the Earth, has turned into a golden sphere. He rushed into the interior of Jupiter and swallowed Jupiter's energy. This is Jupiter's atmosphere, which is mainly composed of transparent hydrogen. Hydrogen is also a kind of matter, a gaseous substance. Chen Mu swallowed the hydrogen, entered the embrace of Jupiter, and rushed in directly. Boom! Accompanied by a loud noise. Chen Mu hit the hard object heavily. The loud noise caused a wave of air on the surface of Jupiter, and the orange, yellow and white clouds spread out in response. Chen Mu was stunned. Is this solid? As the Earth, Chen Mu was flying in the air, looking at Jupiter below. Didn't it agree that Jupiter was a gas giant? How could there be solid? Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 242. Jupiter is called a gas giant, but Jupiter is not entirely gaseous. Jupiter is mainly composed of hydrogen. Hydrogen is indeed gaseous under normal circumstances, but Jupiter has gravity. Under the gravitational constraint of Jupiter's terrifying mass, the further in, the higher the density of hydrogen. When the density reaches a certain height, hydrogen will become liquid. If the density continues to increase, it will become solid. This is the normal way of material transformation. From the outside to the inside, Jupiter's atmosphere is mainly composed of hydrogen and other small amounts of other gases. Going in, there is liquid hydrogen, and then solid hydrogen, and further in, it is metallic hydrogen that has been metallized. Going further in from the metallic hydrogen is the core of Jupiter. Except for gaseous and liquid hydrogen, other places are almost solid. Of course, Chen Mu's own information database does not have much information about the internal structure of Jupiter. He does not have much knowledge of astronomy. Naturally, he does not know these. What Chen Mu needs to consider is, what to do. Go around? Go around. Chen Mu snorted coldly. That's impossible. Blocking the way, right, Chen Mu used his control ability to control his body and retreated at the speed of light. He retreated from the inside of Jupiter in an instant and moved away from Jupiter. Chen Mu stopped at a distance of 1 million kilometers from Jupiter. At this moment, Chen Mu had turned into a golden sphere, surrounded by golden light. He stared at the huge Jupiter in front of him. Suddenly, the golden planet moved. As soon as it moved, it instantly turned into a golden light and shot towards Jupiter. The place where Jupiter was hit lit up, and the light changed from red to yellow, and from yellow to dazzling white. The three colors spread from the place of impact. The white spot became larger and larger. The white light spread rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Horrifying cracks appeared on the huge body. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, the faster the speed of matter, the greater the mass. If a mass reaches the speed of light, the mass will become infinite. There is no matter with infinite mass, so only matter with mass cannot reach the speed of light. But there is another explanation for speed. Humans can perceive a three-dimensional world, but in fact the world is not only three-dimensional. One of the dimensions is called space, and space can be folded. The simplest explanation is that normal space is a piece of white paper, and the distance we are talking about is from one side of the paper to the other side of the paper. But when the paper is folded up, the two sides are stacked together, and the distance from one side to the other side is almost zero. This can speed up our arrival at the destination. When we can fold space, the speed can not only reach the speed of light, but even exceed the speed of light. The system did not explain what principle Chen Mu adopted to reach the speed of light. However, this speed of light is in line with the first theorem, that is, the speed increases and the mass increases. Chen Mu's mass did not reach infinity, which means that Chen Mu's speed of light also folded the space, but even so, Chen Mu's own speed is also very fast, and although the mass brought by this speed has not reached infinity, the mass generated is not something Jupiter can resist. Chen Mu's idea was to use his own speed of light to penetrate the core of Jupiter directly and pass through it directly. But the result turned out to be a planet that gained terrifying mass from speed and hit Jupiter. And the result was accompanied by those terrifying cracks. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang. The whole Jupiter exploded. The light illuminated the entire solar system. Countless materials shot out frantically. In the blink of an eye, the whole Jupiter turned into countless rubbles scattered in the solar system. A golden planet appeared where Jupiter was originally located. Chen Mu looked at the scene in front of him. Jupiter, shattered. As Jupiter shattered, countless materials flew out frantically. When Chen Mu saw this, his heart condensed. This won't do. In an instant, Chen Mu used his control ability. All the flying Jupiter fragments were controlled by Chen Mu's control ability, and after being controlled, they were directly pulled back by Chen Mu. Under Chen Mu's control, countless Jupiter fragments rushed into the golden planet and were absorbed by Chen Mu. There were too many Jupiter fragments, and the mass was extremely large. Chen Mu's entire body was wrapped in Jupiter fragments. As countless Jupiter fragments entered his body, Chen Mu's body grew larger at a speed visible to the naked eye. Acquiring evolutionary energy, the current progress of evolutionary energy is 1%. After swallowing half of it, a familiar voice sounded in Chen Mu's ears. Acquiring evolutionary energy, the current progress of evolutionary energy is 2%. Acquiring evolutionary energy, the current progress of evolutionary energy is 3%. When it reached 3%, the fragments were almost swallowed. When Chen Mu absorbed all the fragments of Jupiter, his body shape was completely different from before. At this moment, Chen Mu's body shape was completely different from before. Although Chen Mu's body shape shrank due to solid composition, his body shape was slightly smaller than Jupiter. But it is enough to crush other planets in the solar system. As Chen Mu finished swallowing, the golden light on his body slowly dissipated. He turned back to the previous azure color. The creatures in the earth were reshaped. Soon, Chen Mu once again became his previous appearance, but his own size and mass were already very large. What attracted Chen Mu's attention was that the moon next to him had also been reconstructed at this moment. It's just that the size of the moon now is larger than the previous Earth. After seeing this, Chen Mu suddenly realized. He understood. He did not become the Earth, but the Earth system. His body includes the entire Earth system, and in this system, there is the planet Earth and the moon as the Earth satellite. In this way, it can explain why the moon can always follow Chen Mu without being swallowed by Chen Mu. So, what should I do next? Swallow Saturn? At present, the remaining planets in the solar system are Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. 3 younger brothers are left, Chen Mu muttered. Saturn's mass is not as high as Jupiter's. It takes 3.3 Saturns to equal 1 Jupiter. As for Uranus and Neptune, they are even less worthy of mention compared to Jupiter. Chen Mu, who has the mass of Jupiter, said that Saturn is his younger brother, which is normal. Chen Mu was not interested. Chen Mu set his sights on the sun in the distance. With my current mass, plus the speed of light, if I hit the sun, what will happen? Having tasted the sweetness, Chen Mu suddenly had a new idea. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 243. Chen Mu did not hesitate much. Since he could smash Jupiter into pieces with a body close to the mass of 2 Earths, then using the mass of Jupiter to smash the Sun might not be impossible. Chen Mu has the ability to adapt instantly, and can ignore the gravity and temperature of other large celestial bodies. The temperature of the Sun naturally has no effect on Chen Mu. In this case, just hit it directly. In fact, under normal circumstances, even if Chen Mu has a body close to the mass of 2 Earths, it is unlikely to smash Jupiter. You should know that the mass of Jupiter is 318 times that of the Earth. Even if Chen Mu has the mass of 2 Earths, there is still a mass difference of more than 100 times. When 2 celestial bodies come into contact, the one with a larger mass will tear and devour the smaller one. Of course, Chen Mu is not affected by Jupiter's gravity because of his ability to adapt instantly. In addition, Chen Mu increased his mass and terrifying power through acceleration. Therefore, he can smash Jupiter into pieces without being torn apart by Jupiter. At this moment, Chen Mu set his sights on the Sun. He planned to smash the Sun into pieces like he hit Jupiter, and then devour and absorb the mass of the Sun to obtain evolutionary energy. So, Chen Mu understood. The huge Earth once again turned into a golden ball of light. Chen Mu pounced on the Sun in front of him. The speed instantly increased to a terrifying value. It doesn't take too long to get from the position of Jupiter to the position of the Sun. If someone is in space at this moment, you can see a golden light shooting straight into the body of the Sun from a distance. Less than a second has passed. Chen Mu came back to his senses. A golden sphere stopped next to the Sun. Chen Mu looked at the Sun behind him through his conscious vision. Many question marks popped up in Chen Mu's mind. What's going on? Chen Mu frowned, and he pounced on the Sun in front of him again. Less than a second has passed. Chen Mu's body passed through the body of the Sun and once again arrived on the opposite side of the Sun. Chen Mu was stunned. Chen Mu was puzzled. Why is this happening? Chen Mu held his puzzlement and rushed to the Sun again. However, just like before, his body once again passed through the Sun and appeared on the opposite side of the Sun. After countless attempts by Chen Mu finally confirmed one of his conjectures. There is no solid in the Sun. After realizing this, Chen Mu was stunned. System, the Sun, is there no solid inside? Chen Mu asked subconsciously. The system said, there is no solid, no liquid, and no gas in the Sun. The Sun is plasma. The matter we belong to, no matter what kind of matter, when the matter is affected by high temperature, it will change from solid to liquid, and if the temperature is higher, it will change from liquid to gas. What if the temperature is higher? What will the gas change into? That's right, the gas is higher, it is plasma. Stars, the entire star is a huge plasma. For the Earth, such a terrifying temperature is extremely rare, so plasma is not easy to explain. If you have to explain it, you can use flames to explain it, and flames can be understood as plasma. The temperature of real plasma is even higher. The sun can be likened to a spherical flame with extremely high temperature. Under this terrifying temperature, no matter what substance can become gas, let alone solid. The hydrogen and helium atoms needed for the nuclear fusion reaction of the sun are located inside the sun and exist in the form of plasma. Chen Mu wanted to smash a flame, which was naturally impossible. The idea of swallowing the sun has failed, Chen Mu muttered. In this case, he can only choose another way. Swallow the other 3 planets first, and then come back to eat up the sun bit by bit. It is estimated that it will take a long time to do so. But now it can only be done this way. Thinking of this, Chen Mu used his control ability to control his huge body and flew towards Saturn. After Chen Mu stopped swallowing, his body naturally turned into the appearance of the Earth. A blue planet dragged the moon, flying in the vast space, flying towards Saturn. The creatures inside the Earth returned to their normal posture and appearance. Everyone still kept looking at the sky. Gone. The sky didn't fall. All kinds of advanced life saw that the sky that had collapsed originally disappeared again, and everyone was relieved. Only some guys who knew the situation knew what happened. What we saw just now was Jupiter as the leader of the mechanical race. Shabeo could naturally recognize Jupiter's identity through its appearance. Yinglong said, "Well, it looks very similar. In this case, the Earth should have reached the position of Jupiter just now. Strange, then Jupiter seemed to be about to hit the Earth just now, how come it suddenly disappeared?" She was a little confused. Hearing Yinglong's words, Shabeo's pupils glowed. And Polaris said slowly, "It's not a collision, but being swallowed." Swallowed, Yinglong looked at Polaris, the ancestor was swallowed by Jupiter. North Star said, "Of course this is impossible. It was Jupiter that was swallowed by the ancestor. Just like before, when the ancestor swallowed Mars, the life on Earth did not feel anything, and then Mars suddenly disappeared. Only the life outside knows what happened. The mechanical people said that the Earth has swallowed Mars, so now it can only be that the Earth swallowed Mars." Ah! How is this possible? Yinglong was a little unbelievable. "I remember that Jupiter is much bigger than the Earth, how could the Earth eat such a big Jupiter?" North Star's expression did not change at all, and said, "The ancestor is omnipotent." Hearing this, Sandstorm subconsciously looked at North Star. The 2 gods of the Earth in front of him, one is playful and cute, and the other is calm and steady, but Sandstorm can be sure that these 2 guys admire their ancestors very much. Sandstorm retracted his gaze. "They don't need to lie to me, that is, their ancestors are likely to be the creators of Martian life. A celestial life that can swallow various planets, even Jupiter? What a terrifying existence." Polaris said, "We're here." Shabeo's eyes lit up slightly, and he looked forward, only to see a green dragon that looked a bit old raising its head above the sea in front of him, looking at this side. That dragon was Qinglong. "It's Yinglong and Polaris, is that a mechanical tribe?" Hearing the voice coming from beside him, Qinglong hummed and said, "It's a mechanical tribe. It's really interesting. I heard you talk about it before, but this is the first time I've seen a real mechanical tribe." Hearing this, Qinglong subconsciously lowered his head and looked at the little guy who was talking next to him. It was a black and white creature, a killer whale. Qinglong said, "After that, you can ask Levi to help you again and change your body for you, so that you can go to land and see more things." When the killer whale heard it, it said, "No, I'm fine now. If I change into another appearance, I'm worried that he won't recognize me after seeing me." Qinglong nodded slightly. Okay. He raised his head and looked at the three guys falling towards the side in the sky. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 244. Yinglong and Polaris fall within the ocean. As Yinglong and Polaris said, the entire ocean rippled with waves. Sandstorms flew in the air. Yinglong raised his head from the ocean. The Qinglong in front of his head smiled playfully and said, "Old Qinglong, long time no see." When Qinglong heard this, the corner of his mouth twitched. Yinglong and Polaris are much older than him. Qinglong said, "Sister Yinglong is joking." "Hey, that's annoying. Don't call me sister, just call me Yinglong." Yinglong said displeasedly, "You call me old." Okay, Qinglong smiled helplessly. At this time, Yinglong noticed the killer whale next to Qinglong and saw the killer whale. She looked at the killer whale. The killer whale smiled and said, "Yinglong, we haven't seen you for a long time." "Oh," Yinglong looked at it and said, "It's you, sister killer whale, are you still alive?" She was a little surprised. "I remember, during the last mass extinction of organisms, weren't you already dead?" The killer whale hummed, "That's true, but I only woke up recently, and I don't know what happened." "It's green," Qinglong explained. Yinglong and Polaris looked at Qinglong together. Qinglong said, "The ancestor woke up and gave Liuyi the ability to create the world, saying that he would let Liuyi do research. Before, when the ancestor left, he asked me to protect the killer whales. During that mass extinction, the killer whales after it died, I used my body to protect its bones, but I never had the chance to tell the ancestor. Later, when I heard about the ability that Liuyi got from the ancestor, I asked Liuyi to see if I could revive it, and the result was like this. This is what you see now." Creation ability. Yinglong's eyes lit up. The ability of the ancestor can be given to others casually. This is not possible. I have to ask the ancestor for one. She looked in high spirits. Qinglong looked at Yinglong, whose face was full of excitement. He didn't say much and looked at the sandstorm next to him. "Is this a member of the machine tribe?" Hearing this, Sandstorm felt the need to speak out. He looked at Qinglong and said, "I am Sandstorm, the leader of the mechanical tribe from Mars." When Qinglong heard this, he said, "They are all created by the same creator. There is no need to separate Mars and Earth. They are all friends." Shabao was slightly startled. He looked at Qinglong. He didn't expect Qinglong to say that. In other words, Qinglong also knows about his creator? Polaris spoke up. The ancestor asked him to go to angels to learn about technology. Before, I couldn't decide which angel he wanted to go to. Now that I hear what you say, I probably know who to go to. Who are you looking for? Yinglong looked at Polaris curiously. Seeing Yinglong's reaction, Qinglong fell silent. Polar Star has long been accustomed to Yinglong's rough nerves. He said, "Find Liuyi." The ancestor gave Liuyi those abilities, which means that Liuyi is different from other angels. It must be right to find her. "Oh, yes," Yinglong smiled. Polar Star looked at Qinglong and said, "Currently, among the three of us, you are the only one who can reach the moon instantly. It's up to you to send him to see Liuyi." Qinglong nodded slightly. Since it is the instructions given by the ancestor, then Qinglong naturally does not dare to neglect. He looked towards Sandstorm and said, "Let's go." "Walk." Sandstorm hasn't reacted yet. Suddenly, Sandstorm only felt that the surrounding environment suddenly changed. It was bright all around. Then the light dissipated. Sandstorm came to his senses. He froze. He subconsciously looked around, only to find that this place was no longer in the ocean of the earth. He is now in mid-air. In the sky, he can see a blue celestial body, which is the Earth. He is now clearly on the moon. How is it possible? The sandstorm was a bit unbelievable. The distance from the Earth to the moon is not close, but in this instant, he was sent from the Earth to the moon. The speed was incredible. Could it be that this is the speed of light? People are coming. Xiaobao was immersed in shock. Before he could react, he heard a voice coming from beside him. Xiaobao came back to his senses and discovered that Kingdom's extremely huge strip-shaped body was flying in mid-air even though it had no wings. Qinglong was looking ahead. Sandstorm looked ahead. Only then did Sandstorm discover that there were countless building complexes on the moon. Above these building complexes, those holy angels were flapping their wings and flying in the air, looking at them in the sky with some curiosity. One of the angels is flying this way. Qinglong. When the angel got closer, he saw Qinglong. When he saw Qinglong, the angel showed a friendly smile and said, "Why do you have time to come to the moon?" Qinglong took a look and said, "Angel Wei, this is Sandstorm, the leader of the mechanical tribe." The ancestor asked him to come to the angel to learn about technology. For more details, you can ask him. When Angel Wei heard this, she looked towards Sandstorm. Xiaobao said, "The Lord thinks that the technology of our mechanical race is still very weak and the speed of moving in space is too slow to carry out real space travel. He asked us to find angels and ask for technical knowledge." Angel Wei smiled, "So that's it?" Indeed, the current technology of the mechanical race does not support the true space travel of the mechanical race. At your speed, it is still possible to fly around in the solar system? As for leaving the solar system, if so, it's hanging. If you want to really travel in space, I suggest you learn warp engine technology," Angel Wei said with a smile. "In this way, you can continue to move at superluminal speed. With the support of superluminal speed, you can realize real space travel." Xiaobao was slightly startled. Superluminal speed? Warp engine? This is knowledge he does not understand. Angel Wei nodded and said with a smile, "I am also studying this technology at present. Although I have gained a lot of knowledge from the knowledge base, there are still some things I can't understand. Your mechanical race seems to have a good understanding of technology. I think we can study together and grow together." Xiaobao was stunned. He never expected that the angel would be so approachable. Qinglong next to him saw this. He looked at Angel Wei and said, "Wei, what's going on?" Qinglong was a little confused. Qinglong and Angel often have contact, because one manages the western continent and the other manages the eastern continent. In order to better manage, they need to contact each other from time to time. The relationship between the angel and the eastern dragon is very good. Qinglong was quite familiar with angels, but what Angel Wei said now confused Qinglong. Angel Wei looked at Qinglong and said with a smile, "It's like this. The ancestor shared a knowledge base with all angels. All the unknown problems we encounter can be answered through the knowledge base. At present, the ancestor wants us to use the knowledge base to study knowledge about technology, and then spread technology to all life on Earth, so that life on Earth can study technology. So that's how it is." Qinglong didn't understand, but it would be a bit stupid to continue asking now, so he said, "So that's how it is. Then my mission is also completed, and Sandstorm will be handed over to you," Qinglong said slowly. Angel Wei nodded. Qinglong's body turned into a beam of light and shot towards the direction of the Earth. Sandstorm looked at the direction where Qinglong left and watched Qinglong leave. Then, "I will teach you more in the future," a voice sounded. Hearing this voice, Sandstorm came back to his senses. He looked at Angel Wei with a friendly smile on his face, and nodded, "I will teach you more. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first." Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 245. Sandstorm never thought that things would go so easily. And through the reactions of the Eastern Dragon and the Angel, Sandstorm also confirmed one thing, that both the Eastern Dragon and the Angel respected their creator very much. Once they heard that it was the creator's intention, they would choose to support unconditionally. Thinking that the creator was also the one who created the mechanical race, Sandstorm was also full of curiosity about the creator. If possible, he wanted to meet the creator. At this time, Sandstorm noticed that Angel Weiwei was looking in a direction. Sandstorm noticed Angel Weiwei's sight, and he also followed Angel Weiwei to look in that direction. When he saw it, Sandstorm's pupils condensed slightly. In the distance, a huge planet can be seen standing in front of the Earth. This planet looks like Saturn. Is this Saturn? Sandstorm's voice has a hint of doubt. It is indeed Saturn, but it is very strange, because the size of the Saturn in front of him is smaller than that of the Earth. At the same time, inside the Earth, the killer whale raised his head and looked at the sky. In the sky, you can see an extremely huge Saturn and the Saturn rings surrounding Saturn. The appearance of Saturn covers the sky for half a day. Qinglong, look, it's coming over there again, the killer whale suddenly spoke. Hearing this voice, Qinglong raised his head and looked at Saturn in the sky. It didn't make a sound. People on Earth also saw Saturn appearing in the sky. People became curious. What is it this time? Forget it, no matter what it is, we still have to live now. The spiritual energy of this world has been exhausted. Without spiritual power, if we don't find food, we will all starve to death. Those highly intelligent life forms on Earth slowly seem to have become immune to these heaven and earth anomalies. Now they begin to pay attention to their own affairs. Indeed, people will be surprised and shocked by this kind of heaven and earth anomalies once, but after 2 or 3 times, people will get used to it. Although sometimes looking up, they still feel a little flustered, but compared to being flustered, they are more concerned about the problem in front of them. On the other side, as the Earth, Chenmu looked at the Saturn in front of him. Through the conscious vision, Chenmu could clearly feel that the Saturn was a circle smaller than himself. The mass of Saturn is far less than that of Jupiter. Chenmu swallowed the entire Jupiter, and his body size naturally increased a lot at present. It is slightly larger than Saturn. This feeling is very strange. I never thought that the Earth would be bigger than Saturn, Chenmu muttered in his heart. He was not in a hurry to swallow Saturn, but chose to take a look at the Saturn in front of him first. At present, Chenmu has stopped. Through the conscious vision, Chenmu can see the color surrounding Saturn. Saturn is the second largest planet after Jupiter among the 8 planets. It is a gas giant. The most peculiar thing about Saturn is, of course, its Saturn rings. Saturn's Saturn rings look particularly beautiful. Looking at these Saturn rings, the whole Earth is slightly lit up with a golden light. The golden light separated from the Earth and turned into an angel. Chenmu spread his wings behind him and quickly flew over to the location of Saturn's rings. Fly over and take a look. When you look at it from a distance, it feels like a thin layer, but when you look closer, you find that it is not thin. After Chenmu got closer, he found that the Saturn ring was very thick. The thickness of the Saturn ring is more than 100 kilometers at the thickest place, and more than 10 meters at the thinnest place. Chenmu, who turned into an angel, was only 1.8 meters tall. The Saturn ring in front of him gave him a very thick feeling. Of course, this thickness is naturally very thin compared to the width of the Saturn ring. There are a total of 7 Saturn rings surrounding Saturn. The width varies, and the widest is more than 300,000 kilometers. Chenmu, in the form of an angel, flew directly into the Saturn ring. He stretched out his hand and held one of the small things. He opened his palm and looked at the small thing, and found that it was an ice cube. However, the ice cube was mixed with dust, and it looked like a water droplet falling on dry sand and being frozen into an ice cube. Ice cubes. Chenmu looked at the materials that were orbiting Saturn. He found that the materials were all yellow ice cubes full of impurities. The ice cubes were big and small. The smallest one was almost as small as dust, and the largest one was several meters in size. They formed the rings of Saturn, and then orbited Saturn like satellites. Chen-Mu was inside the rings of Saturn, and because he was not moving, he was being beaten by these ice cubes. Of course, Chen-Mu didn't care. The ice cubes hit Chen-Mu and turned into golden light and were swallowed by Chen-Mu. In fact, among the 8 planets, 4 gas giants have rings. Jupiter also has rings, but it is difficult to see Jupiter's rings on Earth, because Jupiter's rings are not made of ice like Saturn, so it is difficult to reflect sunlight, which makes it difficult for humans to observe. Saturn is different. More than 90% of its rings are made of ice. No wonder Saturn's rings are so bright, so this is the case, Chen-Mu muttered. He didn't think about it anymore. His body turned into golden light, flew back to the Earth, and sank into the Earth. Earth-like planets do not have rings. The reason for this is the existence of the Hello limit. Planets have gravity, but when some relatively small matter approaches a massive planet to a certain distance, the matter will be torn into pieces, and that distance limit is called the Hello limit. Before, there was a satellite made of a lot of ice, orbiting Saturn, but because of gravity, it got closer and closer to Saturn, and was then torn into pieces by Saturn. After being torn into pieces, because the speed was fast enough, it was not swallowed by Saturn. Those fragments eventually formed this beautiful planetary ring. The larger the mass of the planet, the larger the radius of the Hello limit. The Hello limit radius of the terrestrial planet is too small, and it is torn by the Hello limit. Those celestial bodies have been captured and swallowed by the gravity of the Earth, and naturally it is impossible to form a ring. After Chen-Mu's consciousness returned to the Earth, his body turned into a golden sphere, and he pounced on Saturn in front of him. Soon, Chen-Mu approached Saturn, and when those planetary rings touched Chen-Mu's body, they all turned into golden light and sank into Chen-Mu's body, becoming Chen-Mu's mass. Chen-Mu's body touched Saturn, and the entire Saturn followed Chen-Mu and turned into a golden sphere. The gold on it slowly sank into Chen-Mu's body and was swallowed by Chen-Mu. Chen-Mu enjoyed the feeling of the other party's energy entering his body, swallowing it bit by bit, absorbing it bit by bit. Saturn is very big, this will take some time. Chen-Mu was not in a hurry, swallowing it bit by bit. Until Saturn was completely swallowed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 246. As Saturn's body was devoured by Chen-Mu, Chen-Mu's body suddenly became larger. After devouring Saturn, Chen-Mu's body once again turned back to the original blue planet. Chen-Mu's eyes moved and locked onto Uranus outside Saturn. He flew towards Uranus. At the same time, after Chen-Mu stopped devouring, his body turned blue again. The angels on the moon also returned to their previous postures. For Chen-Mu, he went through a series of processes of devouring Saturn. But for the angels on the moon, they only had time to see the appearance of Saturn, and when they came to their senses again, they found that Saturn in front of them had disappeared. The size and mass of the Earth are larger than before. Angel Wei had just recovered her form. She looked at Saturn, which seemed to have disappeared out of thin air, and then looked at the Earth, which had become much larger in size and mass. She subconsciously asked the knowledge base, did the ancestor devour Saturn? Yes, the voice of the knowledge base sounded. Has the body mass of the ancestor increased? After the Earth swallowed Saturn, the mass of Saturn was converted into an equal proportion of Earth's matter and became part of the Earth. The current mass of the Earth is about 1.3 Jupiter's mass. Hearing this, Angel Wei frowned slightly. For the angels, this is not a good thing. What's wrong? Sandstorm noticed Angel Weiwei's expression. When Angel Weiwei heard this, she looked at Sandstorm and said, "The first ancestor also swallowed Saturn." Sandstorm said, "Is it strange? Why are you frowning? You should know that before, he also swallowed Venus and Mercury." Angel Weiwei said, "Do you know the ability to adapt instantly?" When Sandstorm heard this, he said, "What is that?" Angel Weiwei said slowly, "Instant adaptation is just a name. The essence is to change the density and state of matter to adapt to the surrounding environment. Through this adaptation, the Earth, including all creatures on the Earth, will not be affected by the external environment. However, although the creatures on Earth will not be affected by the external environment, the creatures on Earth will be affected by the interior of the Earth." Angel Weiwei said, "At present, the mass of the first ancestor's planet has reached 1.3 Jupiter masses. If its mass exceeds a certain limit, it will collapse. When the Earth changes from a planet to a brown dwarf, it will no longer be habitable, and all creatures on Earth will die." Shabao's expression changed slightly. "In other words, we must leave the Earth and find a new home before it becomes a brown dwarf." Angel Weiwei nodded. "At present, it seems that this is the only way." She looked at Shabao and said, "There are still many things that angels don't understand about technology. With your help, I believe that we can develop and understand faster. Then please follow me. I will take you to see Sister Elvii. She is currently in charge of the actions of the entire angel clan. Only by meeting her can we know how we will arrange it next." Shabao nodded slightly, "Okay." Watching Angel Weiwei leave, Shabao subconsciously turned back and looked at the blue planet behind him. He retracted his sight and followed Angel Weiwei. On the other side, Chen Mu's conscious vision quickly covered Uranus. Through the conscious vision, Chen Mu can see the true appearance of Uranus. When Chen Mu saw the Uranus in front of him, he was a little curious. The Uranus in front of us is light green, very light green. At first glance, the whole planet is light green. Green planet, Chen Mu would think of the Earth whenever he heard this name before. Now Chen Mu discovered that there is such a light green planet in the solar system. Almost the whole body is light green. The reason why Uranus is in this color is that the atmosphere of Uranus is mainly composed of methane, and the light is emitted by methane, so the color seen by the naked eye is light green. Uranus is the planet with the lowest atmospheric temperature in the solar system. The surface temperature of Uranus can be as low as -197 degrees Celsius. It is basically impossible for people to survive in such an environment. What Chen Mu finds most interesting is that the Uranus in front of him has planetary rings like Saturn. But the planetary rings of Uranus are somewhat different from the rings of Saturn. Saturn and Saturn's rings are like a straw hat placed on a table, and Saturn's rings are the edge of the straw hat. When Saturn rotates, its rings also rotate. And inside Uranus, there is a straw hat hanging on the wall. Its planetary rings are formed from top to bottom. Very strange. When Uranus rotates, it rotates as if it is lying down. It looks very interesting. What an interesting planet, Chen Mu muttered. But, so what if it is interesting? Chen Mu used his control power on Uranus, and Uranus was pulled over by an invisible big hand. Chen Mu also used his control power to control his body and pounced over. The two planets turned into golden spheres together and touched each other in space. In an instant, Uranus' body was swallowed by Chen Mu's body. This time it was very fast, because at this moment Chen Mu's body size was far larger than Uranus, and when he swallowed a planet much smaller than himself, his speed was much faster. After Chen Mu swallowed Uranus, he looked at the last planet in the distance, Neptune. He drove his huge body and continued to fly at the speed of light in space, flying towards Neptune. Chen Mu's conscious vision covered Neptune in the blink of an eye. Uranus looks beautiful and cold, and Neptune is like its name, like a planet made of ocean. It is dark blue all over. When it comes to blue planets in the solar system, almost everyone's first thought is the Earth. But when Chen Mu saw the Neptune in front of him, he now had only one thought. Blue planet, should it be describing Neptune? Neptune is blue all over, completely blue. Uranus and Neptune are all mainly composed of hydrogen, helium, and methane. Because Uranus and Neptune are too far away from the Sun, these substances have turned into ice. Uranus and Neptune are said to be gas giants. But in fact, their density is very high. These two planets are like the core of Jupiter without the atmosphere. Of course, for Chen Mu now, this thing only made Chen Mu a little curious, and then Chen Mu had only one thought in his mind. Eat. This is the next delicacy after Uranus, Neptune. Chen Mu did not fly directly this time. After seeing Neptune in his conscious vision, he used his control ability to control Neptune to fly directly to Chen Mu. Chen Mu's body turned into a golden ball of light. Neptune also turned golden, and then pierced into Chen Mu's body. It was swallowed by Chen Mu. Accompanied by the golden light that spread from Neptune, it permeated Chen Mu's whole body. Chen Mu felt a sense of pleasure, and his sight slowly looked at the remaining commander in the solar system. The Sun. Next, I can only choose to slowly eat the Sunday. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 247. Chen Mu moved and flew towards the Sun. The speed of light is a very, very fast speed. But the solar system is very large. Even at the speed of light, it took Chen Mu half an Earth day to fly from the positions of Uranus and Neptune to the direction of the Sun. Of course, Chen Mu still came to the Sun. Look at the huge Sun in front of you. Chen Mu didn't think much and rushed towards the Sun. Swallow. Chen Mu's body transformed into golden light. He rushed into the Sun, rushed in, and then passed through the Sun. However, nothing was gained. Chen Mu suddenly had a bad feeling. He once again flew to the edge of the Sun and flew along the edge of the Sun, his huge body passing by the surface of the Sun. However, still nothing gained. He began to devour the power, flying around the Sun, trying to separate and devour the Sun bit by bit. But after 2 consecutive shuttles, he found that there was no way to do it. He had no way to separate the Sun's matter from the Sun. What's going on? System, Chen Mu asked. The system gave the answer, the Sun is plasma, and the connection distance of plasma is relatively far, so it cannot be swallowed. Hearing this, Chen Mu understood. Plasma is not a solid, it is more dispersed than gas. Gases of the same mass can be connected to cover a wide range, and plasma is even wider than gas. It is easy to separate solids from solids, but it is much more difficult to separate plasmas. And although Chen Mu is not affected by the Sun's gravity, the material on the Sun is affected by the Sun's gravity. It is naturally difficult to compete with the Sun for material through gravity. What if we were further away? Chen Mu thought for a moment and said, what if I stay away? It's far enough. The system's response was simple. Chen Mu said, then if I swallow the Sun from a long distance, how long will it take to swallow the whole Sun? The system answered Chen Mu in that mechanical voice, according to the normal devouring speed, it will take 3,745 years. Chen Mu didn't speak, just lost in thought. For a long time. This is too cheating, Chen Mu said helplessly. It's ridiculous to ask Chen Mu to orbit the Sun for 3,745 years. Since it can't swallow the Sun, it doesn't matter. Chen Mu plans to leave the solar system and take a look outside. After all, it is a bit difficult to swallow up this last Sun, and it will be impossible for a while. At present, all the planets in the solar system have been swallowed up by Chen Mu, and the remaining ones are all small mass celestial bodies. Chen Mu, who had swallowed Jupiter, felt the huge increase in mass and size, and naturally looked down on those small mass celestial bodies. Chen Mu didn't want to think too much. He looked around and locked on the star closest to him. Proxima Centauri. He controlled his huge body and flew towards the direction of Proxima Centauri at the speed of light. The reason why it flies towards Proxima Centauri is because there are other planets on that side of Proxima Centauri. Chen Mu currently has two ways to obtain evolutionary energy. One is to develop living creatures. Through biological capacitation, this ability allows the creatures he created to fly to other planets to develop, because through living creatures, Chen Mu has obtained the energy will increase 9 times. If the creatures you create are scattered throughout the universe, you can obtain huge amounts of energy every day even if you are lying down. As those creatures reproduce, you will gain more energy, and you will gain more. Later, it is estimated that the energy obtained in one day can exceed the energy brought to oneself by a planet. Bioenergy harvesting is a sustainable development method. The other one is planet devouring. However, it's too slow. After Chen Mu devoured the other 7 planets, his current evolutionary progress was only 5%, which simply made Chen Mu depressed. Chen Mu didn't think any more and flew in the direction of Proxima Centauri. He passed the original orbit of Mars and moved forward. He saw many asteroids, which formed a long asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars. I have watched many science fiction movies before, and there were stories about spaceships sailing in space and encountering asteroid impacts. On Earth, many people seem to know that there is an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, and there are many small ones in it. Planets, these asteroids will prevent the spacecraft from leaving the solar system. Now it seems that they are overthinking. Through the vision of consciousness, Chen Mu did see this asteroid belt, but the problem was that the asteroids in this asteroid belt ranged from big to small. The small ones were almost the same as dust. The most important thing is that the asteroids in this asteroid belt were small. The gaps in the distribution of planets are too wide. The distance between these asteroids is wide enough to exceed millions of kilometers, almost exceeding the distance between the Earth and the Moon. With such a spacious space, it is naturally impossible to hinder the human spacecraft. By the way, humanity is gone, Chen Mu muttered. Chen Mu passed directly through the asteroid belt and continued flying outward. It passes through the orbit of Jupiter, and then passes through the orbits of Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. After passing the orbit of Neptune, continue forward. After flying for an unknown period of time, Chen Mu suddenly discovered that many asteroids appeared around him. The distance between these asteroids was still very wide, but there were many of them. As he continued to fly forward, the number of asteroids increased, and the density was even denser than what he saw at the beginning. Of course, in this vast sun, this density is nothing. It's just very strange. Because when he was in Neptune, although there were asteroids, those asteroid belts were concentrated between Mars and Jupiter, while other places were very wide and no other asteroids could be seen. But now after coming out of Neptune, there are more and more asteroids. Chen Mu's astronomy knowledge is average, he just feels novel and doesn't know what it is. In fact, beyond Neptune is the Kuiper belt. It is composed of countless asteroids, similar to the asteroid belt, but much wider and heavier than the asteroid belt. Sometimes comets or meteorites hit the solar system, and the comets and meteorites that the solar system faces are mostly from the Kuiper belt. Chen Mu didn't think much about it and continued to fly forward. The solar system is very huge. Neptune is the 8th planet in the solar system and the last planet, but flying outward from Neptune is still within the solar system. The end of the solar system is located in the Kuiper belt, near the location of Pluto. After Chen Mu flew for a while, he saw a celestial body that was larger than the nearby asteroids. That celestial body was Pluto. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wu Nian. Chapter 248. The reason why Chen Mu noticed the existence of Pluto was because Pluto was too conspicuous. Of course, Pluto is nothing compared to Chen Mu, who is now extremely large, but Pluto at this moment is much more conspicuous and larger than the nearby asteroids. There are a lot of asteroids in the Kuiper belt, but these asteroids are as small as dust, the larger ones are only a few meters in size, and most of them are just inconspicuous rocks. But Pluto is much larger than these asteroids. Pluto was previously considered the ninth planet in the solar system, but in fact Pluto is smaller than the Moon, with only 1/3 the volume and 1/6 the mass of the Moon. Of course, just because it is small in size and mass does not mean it is not a planet. There are currently 3 conditions for judging planets. One is that a celestial body must revolve around the Sun, and Pluto complies with this requirement. The second point is that a celestial body must be able to turn itself into a spherical shape through its own gravity, which Pluto also conforms to. The third point is that celestial bodies must have the ability to clear the area near their orbits. And this is exactly what Pluto cannot do. Because Pluto's orbit is within the Kuiper belt, those asteroids near its orbit cannot be cleared away by Pluto's gravity. This resulted in Pluto being directly kicked out of the ranks of planets. But since Pluto already meets all 2 conditions, but is not a planet, it has a new name called a dwarf planet. Chen Mu looked at Pluto, and then used his control ability. Pluto flew directly towards Chen Mu. Chen Mu's whole body turned into a golden ball of light and he ate it in one bite. Too small. The feeling that Pluto brings to Chen Mu is that he has no feeling. Chen Mu looked at the dark space ahead. He whispered helplessly, "It's so slow. The speed of light is so slow. But there is no other way to slow down. If you want to obtain evolutionary energy, you can only continue to fly." By the way, I remember watching some science fiction movies before, which mentioned warp engines, which can run at super light speeds. I should also be able to learn about warp engines, so that I can also traveling faster than the speed of light is much faster. Chen Mu said, "System, can I use the warp engine to move faster than light?" "Okay," the system answered Chen Mu in the same mechanical voice as always. "Sure enough it can." "Wrong." Chen Mu suddenly had a flash of inspiration, and he thought of a question. The system will find answers to its own questions based on the knowledge base, but the system has always been mechanized, without any thinking or emotion. It will give you direct answers to the questions you ask, but it won't give you any more explanations. Well, the warp drive itself can indeed be used. It can be used, but that doesn't mean it will work. Chen Mu thought for a moment, and then asked tentatively, "What do I need to use the warp engine?" "We need to build a warp engine," the system answered. "Isn't this nonsense?" Chen Mu said, "How long does it take to build a warp engine?" "If you want to create a warp engine, you can use atoms to create it and use templates to create it yourself. If you want to create a warp engine that can transfer your current size and mass, it will take 600 million years." The system still uses that, a mechanical voice spoke. Chen Mu was silent. Pit. This system is a real pitfall, a big pitfall. Fortunately, I kept an eye out, otherwise, I would have stepped directly into this big pit. Chen Mu could only give up this idea. The warp engine folds space to form a unique space channel, and entering this channel is restricted by body size and mass. The smaller the warp drive, the better it performs. Chen Mu currently has a mass of 1.4 times the size of Jupiter. If he wants to build a super light warp engine for his own use, it will take a long time. Chen Mu could only continue to bury his head and fly forward. Suddenly, Chen Mu's eyes lit up slightly. Chen Mu was stunned when he saw the scene. "What's this?" A light blue light appeared in the space ahead. This light was like the aurora in Antarctica, covering everything in front of Chen Mu. This thin light blue light looks like a huge veil, covering the world in front of it. It's like a barrier covering the solar system. Chen Mu never thought that there was such a thing outside the solar system. What is this? Chen Mu flew over with a doubtful attitude. He quickly passed through the veil and stepped out. He subconsciously looked back behind him. Upon taking a look, Chen Mu found that the veil was extremely large, covering the entire solar system. System, what is that? It is a phenomenon caused by the collision of the solar wind blowing from the Sun and the interstellar radiation in interstellar space. The Sun will rotate. When the Sun rotates, just like the Earth's rotation will form a magnetic field, the Sun's rotation will also form a magnetic field. Due to the influence of rotation, the Sun experiences many solar activities, and solar wind is one of them. After the solar wind flies out, there is a limit. These extreme solar winds form a unique solar top layer, which, like the Earth's magnetic field, forms a shield for the solar system to withstand interstellar radiation outside the solar system. The light blue veil that Chen Mu just saw was the image formed by the collision of solar wind and interstellar radiation. And that place is the boundary between the solar system and the outside of the universe. We call it the heliosphere. It is the end of the solar system. Of course, the heliosphere is just a phenomenon caused by the collision of plasma. For Chen Mu, it is not edible. After Chen Mu was curious, he continued to fly out. As the distance got farther and farther, the veil could not be seen. Chen Mu was flying in space. After leaving the solar system, he could not see any other planets near him. In his conscious vision, there was only the empty self and the dark world. Chen Mu, who was separated from the angel form, could see the stars surrounding him. The stars were right under his feet, on the left, and on top. But they were very far away. There was nothing around, almost nothing. From a distance, you can see the Earth and the Moon flying towards the distance. When a planet leaves its own star system, then that celestial body can no longer be defined as a planet. Because it does not meet the first condition of being a planet, which is to revolve around a star. Because it was originally a planet, it will have a new name called Wandering Planet. The current Chen Mu's body is the Earth, or he should call it the Wandering Earth. At the same time, because of Chen Mu's actions, the creatures on the Earth also ushered in their doomsday. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 249. Sister Liu Yi was in the research institute, discussing technology knowledge with other angels. Just as he was halfway through his words, Angel Qing came in. Seeing Angel Qing, the other angels in the room looked at her. Angel Qing said, "There is a large-scale genocide war on the Earth. The sisters have taken action to stop it, but we still cannot solve the root problem." When Liu Yi heard this, she said, "What's the problem?" Angel Qing continued, "Plants cannot be grown on the Earth. At the same time, plants begin to die because they cannot get sunlight. Once the plants die, the animals that feed on the plants also die. After humans lose the help of nanorobots, they also need to eat. Before for a while, they could still obtain food by obtaining wild fruits and hunting wild beasts, but now there is not enough food, so." Speaking of this, Angel Qing paused for a moment and looked at the greenery. Plants and lower animals are almost extinct, so the only food left is those higher animals. This is the reason for genocidal wars. Liu Yi frowned. Aren't those creatures all living in the ancestor's body, protected by the ancestor's instant adaptability? No, Angel Qing said. After I discovered the situation, I asked the knowledge base. The knowledge base said that instant adaptation acts on a target. If the target is a living thing, then instant adaptation will identify that creature and keep the creature alive. But now that the ancestor is a planet, the instant adaptation determines that the death of the living things inside the planet is a normal situation of the planet's operation and is not within the scope of adjustment. Angel Qing continued, During this period, the disappearance of nanorobots in the mortal world has caused great turmoil in the order of the entire mortal world. Because of this turmoil, long-standing conflicts have broken out. Gao's Hizi died because of this incident. Life, more than 60 million. Without the nanorobots, people need to get food again, but some people can't adapt to the life of searching for food on their own, leading to starvation. Some people want to hunt wild beasts, but are hunted by wild beasts. Because of this, death tens of thousands of people. In order to grab food and establish their own racial power, some highly intelligent beings started a war to grab territory and food. The entire mortal world is currently in chaos. There are fighting for food everywhere, and there are corpses and death everywhere. When one of the angels heard this, she couldn't help but stand up and said, "This time, the first ancestor went too far." "Shut up," Lu Yi suddenly said. The angel was stunned for a moment, and she looked at Lu Yi. But he found that Lu Yi had a sullen face. Lu Yi said slowly, "No one is qualified to say anything wrong about the ancestor. The ancestor is our creator. He gave us life and gave us everything we have today. Ge, do you think the ancestor went too far?" Lu Yi looked at Angel Ge. Ge pursed his thin lips and frowned. "Otherwise, it is life, a living life. These lives all depend on the sun. They can survive with sunlight. Without sunlight, they cannot survive. The ancestors knew this. But..." Liu Yi looked at Ge and said, "So, they need to grow." Angel was startled, and she looked at Liu Yi. Liu Yi slowly closed her eyes and said, "Think about it, we have managed the earth for more than 3,000 years, but who has been protecting the life on the earth?" Hearing this, Angel Ge was slightly startled. "Me, us." Liu Yi slowly opened her eyes. "Yes, it's us, and why should we protect them?" "Because the ancestors asked us to protect them." Speaking of this, Liu Yi looked at Angel Ge, her beautiful black eyes glowing, and said, "The ancestor gave life to the mortal creatures. He is their creator. Not only did he create them, the ancestor also made them. We protect them." Having said this, Liu Yi paused for a moment. Angel Ge slowly lowered his head, looking a little guilty. Liu Yi said, "For more than 3,000 years, due to the existence of nanorobots, humans did not research technology on their own, but relied entirely on the help of nanotechnology, so the ancestors took back the nanorobots. The ancestors gave us a knowledge base for us to study technology. You want us to use this technology to help mankind, but you say that the ancestor did this too much. Do you think the ancestor went too far this time?" Liu Yi asked Angel Ge again. Angel Ge stood up and said, "I am ashamed of the ancestor, I should not have said what I just said." Liu Yi withdrew her gaze, looked forward, and said, "I know that you are emotionally invested in mortal life, that's why you are so impulsive, but blaming the ancestor is unforgivable." Angel Ge opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but couldn't. For a moment, the whole room fell silent. Instant adaptation can help life not be affected by the outside world, but it will be affected by the earth itself. The voice of the angel Wei. The angels all heard Wei's voice. Green eyes fell on Wei. "Wei, what do you think?" When the angel Wei heard this, she said, "Actually, I had guessed about the current situation of the earth before, but I didn't expect it to develop into what it is now." Liu Yi looked at the angel Wei. "So, you have something to do?" "Well," Angel Wei said, "I have thought of this problem before, so I have been doing research based on the knowledge base." "Study something?" "What?" Angel Wei said, "The current problem is actually that plants lose sunlight and cannot grow. This is the source of the problem. In other words, as long as we solve the problem of plant growth, we can teach these highly intelligent beings to cultivate and produce food again. As long as there is food, the problem of war will naturally be solved. In other words, as long as there is sunshine, the war will be resolved." When Lu Yi heard this, her eyes lit up slightly. You mean, artificial sun? Angel Weiwei shook her head. Seeing Angel Weiwei shaking her head, Lu Yi showed doubts. What's wrong? Angel Weiwei said, when I started, I also planned to use an artificial sun, but the artificial sun needed to be nuclear fusion. That kind of ability is not something that current mortal creatures can master. So, through the knowledge base, I learned about another plant, something called a fluorescent lamp. It is a kind of light obtained through electricity. It has a spectrum similar to that of the sun and can provide light to plants. Hearing this, her green eyes lit up slightly, and she smiled. I understand. The ancestors gave us the knowledge base and asked us to teach the highly intelligent beings in the mortal world how to use technology for this purpose. Liu Yi said, as long as we understand these technologies and teach them to the mortal beings, then they only need to use them. If these technologies are used, they can survive even without the sun. The ancestors allowed those beings to leave the sun, which is equivalent to giving them an environment to grow and learn, so that they can grow faster. Sure enough, the wisdom of the ancestors is unparalleled. Speaking of this, Lu Yi looked at Angel Ge and said, Ge, can I leave this matter to you and Weiwei? Angel Ge was stunned, her eyes lit up, and she immediately looked at Lu Yi and said, Ge, I am willing to accept the crime and make meritorious service. Liu Yi said, now do you understand the wisdom of the ancestors? Angel Ge touched the back of his head and said, I understand a little better. I am worthy of being the ancestor. I think too far. Lu Yi smiled slightly, go ahead. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 250. Chen Mu has been flying towards Proxima. In order to determine the location of Proxima, Chen Mu will distinguish the angel form and then determine the location of Proxima through the farsightedness brought by the super bionic eye. It looks very close, but I still can't get there after flying for so long. The universe is very empty. Proxima is the closest star to the solar system, but even the closest one is more than 4 light-years away. Light-year is a unit of distance, which refers to the distance traveled by light in 1 year. In other words, at Chen Mu's current speed of light, he needs more than 4 years to reach Proxima. After Chen Mu flew for a few days, he felt bored. So, Chen Mu planned to return to Earth and find something to do to kill time. After having this idea, Chen Mu planned to put it into practice. The whole Earth lit up slightly, and golden light condensed next to the Earth to form an angel-shaped creature. This winged creature was Chen Mu. Chen Mu slowly opened his eyes, then turned around and looked at the Earth behind him. During this period, Chen Mu has been paying attention to the surroundings and the situation of Proxima Centauri, but he didn't pay much attention to the situation of his own body. When Chen Mu looked back, the scene in front of him made Chen Mu blink his eyes. What is this? The Earth in front of Chen Mu is completely different from the previous Earth. The color of the Earth at this moment is blue, yellow and orange. When I looked at the Earth from outer space before, the Earth was completely blue-green. It is completely different from now. The green disappeared. Chen Mu frowned and muttered. After thinking for a while, Chen Mu understood. Green is the color of plants, and the disappearance of green means the disappearance of plants. Is it because I left the solar system and the plants lost sunlight, so they died? Chen Mu said, it seems that this instant adaptability cannot help plants replenish light energy. Chen Mu didn't expect this. He thought that the instant adaptability could completely protect the organisms in his body. Of course, Chen Mu didn't care. The Earth is a farm. What happened on the farm is handled by workers. As a farmer, Chen Mu doesn't need to worry about these. If the workers really can't handle it, they will definitely come to me. Since they don't come to me, then there is no problem. Now Chen Mu's main purpose is to find a place, do something, and kill time. Chen Mu flapped his wings and flew down from the sky. Landed on a plane. As soon as he landed, Chen Mu looked at everything around him and frowned. It was dark all around, and the only light on the earth came from the stars in the sky. With the light of the stars and the help of Chen Mu's editor bionic eyes, Chen Mu saw the situation around him. Under Chen Mu's feet was a plain. There was no grass on the plain, only withered and bare earth. On this land, there was a strong smell of burning and blood, and countless broken clothes, weapons, and armor were lying on the ground. The flames were burning and the smoke was lingering. The earth and most of these things were stained with scarlet blood. The area within a radius of 10 miles was in a mess, and it was obvious that there had been a war here. But strangely, there was not a single corpse on the battlefield, not a single limb or debris, as if someone had intentionally cleaned it up. Chen Mu realized something, frowned slightly, and then slowly relaxed his brows. Since the earth lacks green, I will add some green to the earth. After the voice fell, Chen Mu had an idea. The earth began to tremble. Boom! The terrain around Chen Mu began to change at a speed visible to the naked eye. With Chen Mu as the center, the land with a radius of 5,000 meters began to bulge automatically. In the blink of an eye, a series of continuous mountains were formed. The mountains completely enveloped the 5,000-meter radius where Chen Mu was. In the blink of an eye, the original plain turned into a valley in the blink of an eye. Chen Mu opened his eyes and looked around. This valley had just been formed, and a dusty cloud was flying. Before, all those annoying things disappeared without a trace in this terrain change. In the past, Chen Mu could not do this, but now Chen Mu's control ability is planetary level. Changing the terrain of a place is easier than swallowing a planet. Revival of all things. Once the ability is used. With Chen Mu as the center, within a radius of 10 miles. Green plants sprang out of the soil, some turned into grass, and some turned into towering trees. The whole valley became lush in the blink of an eye. Chen Mu crossed his arms and looked at the fruits that had just grown on the tree. It seems that something is missing. Chen Mu muttered. Oh, it's too dark. Chen Mu looked at the stars in the sky. Now the earth is in space, far away from the sun, and the only light source is the reflected light of the moon and the light of the stars. But it's still too dark. Chen Mu is now building his own private home on the earth. No light is not possible. If there is no light, the plants he created with the revival of all things will slowly die. Chen Mu thought for a while and said, atomic creation. Chen Mu entered the atomic vision. Chen Mu said, to create a template, an artificial sun, it is required not to damage the Earth's environment, and at the same time it can illuminate an area within a radius of 5,000 meters. Searching for templates, there is no artificial sun template in the template library. Automatically searching from the knowledge base. Search successful, get the artificial sun template. Start building the artificial Sunday according to your requirements. It takes 10 seconds to build the artificial Sunday. 10 seconds. Isn't that too fast? It took Chen Mu several hours to build a fist-sized ruby before. An artificial sun only takes 10 seconds. But, thinking back, it is true. After Chen Mu became a planet, all his abilities were planetary class. It is normal for atomic creation to become faster. Of course, even if it is faster, it is still difficult to build a warp engine for planets to pass. The artificial sun is not actually the sun, but a kind of nuclear fusion technology. All stars rely on nuclear fusion to generate light sources, and the technology of artificial sun is to create controllable nuclear fusion and turn the energy emitted by nuclear fusion into usable energy. In short, it is another type of nuclear power plant, but the energy released by nuclear fusion is much more terrifying and powerful than that of nuclear power plants. 10 seconds later. The artificial sun is complete. As the voice fell, the atomic vision closed. Chen Mu felt a bright light in front of his eyes. It was too bright. Chen Mu switched to the consciousness vision, and through the consciousness vision that would not be affected by light, he saw a light ball in his early stage. This one was suspended in the air. A mini-sun was wrapped in a glass-like transparent material. The whole body was red, and it was emitting tongues of fire. But this mini-sun was wrapped in glass like this. Because the light was too bright, it was almost an extremely bright light bulb when seen with the naked eye. Chen Mu looked at the artificial sun in front of him, raised his hand, and held the mini-sun. Is this the artificial sun? It is bright enough. With this, I believe it can illuminate the entire valley. As he said, he tossed it up like a basketball.